Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us in another edition of our inspirational program called Joyful Hope. My name is Asma'u Rebecca Asma'u. I am your host in the program. In this program, the aim of this program is to share excerpts of my books. I've written like 6 of them, but I have chosen to begin with Awesome Wonder. And today's episode is the third episode. I'm going to be sharing with you a very interesting stories. Thank you for all of you that have gone to read, that have gone to listen to the first and second episode of my program. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for those that have subscribed. Please kindly like and subscribe my page. Like the video, subscribe to the page. The Lord bless and reward you. Amen and amen. So today we are going to continue with another interesting story from this book, Awesome Wonder, a fictional adaptation of 12 amazing testimonies shared by Dr. D.K. Olukoya, General Overseer of Mountain of Fire and Miracles Ministries. And by the way, I'm an associate pastor in the Mountain of Fire and Miracles Ministries. Thank you so much. So today I'm going to read this story titled Witchcraft Kiddies. Witchcraft Kiddies, and it's as the name implies, there are kids that are witches. So join me in this story, listen to it and enjoy it. The doctor could not believe his eyes as he took off the plaster of Paris POP cast from Chief Indubisi's leg. The sore was as raw as if the injury had just occurred, and the leg refused to bend at the knee, rather it remained straight. "This is unbelievable," he exclaimed. "This POP cast has been on your leg for the past 6 weeks, Chief. What is happening?" "I don't know, doctor. I don't know. But the pain is killing me." Chief Ibe frowned. At 41, he ought to be able to endure pain without much ado. Instead, the reverse was the case. The fractured bone had refused to join, and the injury has refused to heal. Now the doctor understood why he had been complaining of ceaseless pains. Ibe had been rushed to the hospital immediately he broke his leg in a motor accident. He was seated at the owner's corner in his vehicle while the driver drove him to his office complex in Victoria Island, Lagos, when a reckless driver rammed into his side of the car, hitting him very hard. He sustained some injuries on his leg and didn't feel much pain at first. But then he was taken to the hospital for a proper checkup and possibly mild treatments. There, an X-ray revealed that he had cracked his fibula. Dr. Chooks immobilized the affected leg in a POP cast. If not, Ibe's busy and hyperactive life would not have allowed the leg to heal properly. Throughout the 6 weeks the cast was in place, Ibe kept complaining of severe pains. Sometimes the doctor prescribed painkillers for him in addition to his routine drugs, and sometimes he just ignored the complaints. "Be a man, Chief Ibe. Even little boys with worse fractures do not whine as much as you do," he told him with a laugh. "You only need to rest more and everything about your leg will be perfect." How wrong he was. Now 6 weeks after, the bruise that ought to have healed has transformed into a very deep, ugly sore. When he ordered for another X-ray, the doctor discovered that the crack had become a fracture. There was certainly no medical explanation for this case. Dr. Chooks only scheduled Chief Ibe for another POP casting and left the patient's room as confused as could be. Mrs. Angela Ibe had not stopped weeping since her twin shops in Ikoyi were razed down by fire 2 weeks earlier. It was a beautiful one-story building with 3-bedroom flats on each floor. The ground floor housed her beauty salon and spa, while the top floor housed her choice fabric boutique. She had been inconsolable. Her circle of friends, all of them members of Shining Star Sisters, had taken turns to spend time with her or even pass the night, offering her words of consolation and encouragement, all to no avail. They even raised a bounce back offering of 5 million naira for her, which still sat in her account untouched. The equipment in her beauty salon alone were worth over 20 million naira, not to talk of the diverse expensive beauty products, Brazilian and Peruvian hair, that were stocked in her shop one alone. But that was even the least of her problems. Shop 2, the main source of her worry, was stocked with all kinds of exotic and rare French and Swiss laces and trendy organza laces. She also had in store bales of freshly supplied Velisco Hollandis wrappers, direct from the manufacturing company in Holland. To add to her sorrow, she had just ventured into the shining exquisite Saudi gold jewelries during her recent visit to Dubai to expand the English gold jewelries she used to deal in. Everything had been loaded in her fully secured, packed field shop. Angela Ibe wouldn't have bothered much if the money she invested totally belonged to her. Unfortunately, only about 10% of it was hers. She had taken a bank loan, or rather, the bank had approached her and encouraged her to take a loan, and she considered the prospect of having a booming business. She gave them the reply, "Why not?" She went on a business trip, or rather a shopping spree, around the world. London for the English gold, Dubai for the Saudi gold, Switzerland and France for the laces, and finally Holland for her Velisco Hollandis wrappers. The smart marketing manager she met at Holland was able to convince her to source for more money so that she could purchase more of the Hollandis wrappers at a cheaper rate. Her initial plan was to buy a gross, that's 144 wrappers of a certain amount, but he advised her that if she could multiply the quantity by 5, she could get the unit price at almost half the initial price. She bought the idea but didn't have the money to make such a large purchase. From there, she phoned her husband's best friend and business partner and requested for a secret loan. He took a great risk by obliging her, but warned her that nothing must go wrong, else him and her husband might go into debt. She had assured him that nothing would go wrong and promptly invested everything. Then she returned happily to Nigeria to receive her goods one after the other, locking them in her shop in preparation for the day of the grand opening. Then fire fell and devoured everything. No visible explanation could be found for the calamity. Angela Ibe used to be a beauty queen in her university days. She was of average height, light in complexion, with a ravishing, beautiful face and a perfect figure to go with it. She won every beauty competition she entered. Her aim was the crown for the most beautiful girl in the world pageant. But love took over. She married the financially stable Chief Ibe, and he insisted that she abandon her aim in the beauty pageant career. She agreed after they settled that he would set up a posh and profitably beauty salon for her, which he did. She had been successfully managing the salon for some time before she decided to include the sale of expensive laces and fabrics into her business. Everything was going nicely for her. Aside her ever-growing business, her 10-year-old marriage had produced 3 pretty girls, potential beauty queens, she called them. She was having the time of her life until she woke up one morning to the news that her 2 shops, which were in the same building, had been razed down in an overnight fire. She was devastated. Angela had stepped out of her house only once in the 2 weeks that the fire incident happened, and that was to ascertain the extent of the damage done to her shops. After which she returned home distraught. She called her insurance brokers to find out what she could claim, and they only told her tall tales and excuses why she was not qualified for this or that. Eventually, fortunately, the bank had not come after her, but then it will not be long before they came knocking. What was she going to do? The building she had used as collateral, the only property she owned, was the one that housed the shops that had been razed down. How was she going to resolve the matter, she wondered. Her only fear was that she could end up in jail. Her puffy face and teary eyes broke into a smile as her 3 daughters aged 5, 7 and 9 walked into the room, dressed in their lovely school uniform. They had just returned from the British primary school they attended. They were the love of her life. Her very heart beat, and she could not quantify the joy they brought to her. Many times friends and relatives had sneered at her because she didn't bear a male child, but she had never allowed it to bother her for one day. She had given her husband the license to go source for a male child wherever he wanted to go because she was done with childbearing. She had not only indicated that she was never going to consider that option, but then she didn't care. He had not openly indicated that he was never going to consider that option, but then she didn't care. Her 3 pretty girls were enough for her, and she often bragged that if she lost everything but she still had these kids, she would still be a happy woman. "Hi Mom," her daughter chorused to greet her. "Hi Sapphire, Emerald and Jasmine, my jewels, you are welcome." Their father had given the girls lovely Igbo names, Adobe, Ifunanya and Chioma, but Angela never calls her daughters with those names. "Come and give Mom a hug," she said to them. The 3 of them went to hug her. "I love you so much, my babies," she whispered into their ears and began to weep, wondering what would happen to them if she went to jail. "Don't cry, Mom, we love you too," Jasmine, the youngest, said, while the first 2 stared at her with real scrawls on their faces. "We are not allowed to melt at emotion, Jasmine, remember?" Emerald, the middle daughter, said. She spoke with a perfect British accent like her younger sister. "Yes, she's right," Sapphire said, nodding her head. "Stop being a wet sponge, Jasmine. Let's go upstairs right now. We need to get out of our school clothes." Angela watched them in mock amazement, with her mouth agape, but at the same time proud of the kind of daughters she was raising. They were going to be very strong, independent women. Upstairs in their bedroom, the girls chatted as they changed their clothes. "I'm going to have only chocolate mousse for lunch," Emerald said. She was the most forward of the 3 sisters, very bold and daring. "Me too," Sapphire said. Though the eldest, she rarely contradicted Emerald. She always waited for Emerald to take decision, then she gave her full support. "But Mom is not going to allow that," Jasmine said calmly. She was the sweetest of the girls. "Mom said we could only have chocolate mousse as dessert after we eat our regular meals like noodles, potatoes or rice." The first 2 girls laughed. "You don't know anything, little sis," Emerald said, calling her by her pet name for her. "Mary said we must exercise our powers by manipulating our parents always. We must insist on what we want and our parents must give in always. I don't want to have any stupid noodles for lunch, and I hate potatoes. Once I want, once I shall get." Yes, Sapphire agreed. "Mary said we have been endowed with more powers since we injured Dad's leg, and we have not been using the powers." "Mary is such a bad influence on us," Jasmine said, close to tears. "I don't know why we listen to her. I so hate Mary. She's so cruel." "So are you, little Jasmine," Sapphire whispered, but she was very firm. "You gave the cruel approval for Mom's shop to be raised down. You approved the order for that fibula to be cracked and later fractured when we used it as a chopping board for sharing our meat during the midnight feast. So you cannot call her cruel because you are cruel too. She was breathing rapidly after her long tirade. I can no longer take this. I'm going to tell mom. I'm going to tell mom. Jasmine cried. You are such a wet sponge. I wish we didn't let you into the cycle. Yes, I wish I did not get into it when you informed me about it, she retorted bitterly, crying the more. Chimo, 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 Angela yelled into the phone. She rarely spoke Igbo, except it was in very extreme cases. On her return from Nigeria after her first visit to Britain, she had adopted the standard British English as a major means of communication to everyone, not minding if they understood English or not. Nonetheless, in the heat of the moment, Chimo sounded more apt than my God, which is what it means in Igbo language. I cannot believe that just few weeks after my shops were gutted by fire, the building is being demolished. What is the Environmental Protection Agency up to? Madam, your building is located at a major T-junction. They said they could not allow the rubble to stand as such an important scenic spot in the city, the caller said. Okay, we shall talk later. I need to answer another call. She ended the call and picked another one from her husband. Ndubes, how far? Has the doctor removed the cast? She asked her husband. She called her husband by his pet name Ndubes, the endearment of his first name Ndubisi, while he called her Omalicha, the beautiful one. Yes, he did, Omalicha, but now I have suffered. What do you mean? After 6 weeks of carrying this load about, the doctor opened it and made fresh wound. The leg didn't heal at all. Impossible, Angela exclaimed. I am amazed too, dear. I have been scheduled for immediate recasting. I have suffered too much. See all the business opportunity I have been missing because of this leg. You are going to be fine, best. Everything will be alright. Mom, can we have your attention for a moment? Her 3 daughters filed in and stood in front of her, mafia style. She wanted to tell them to wait until after her phone call, but on sighting Jasmine's teary eye, she ended her husband's call instead. Best, I have to go. Your darlings need my attention. She cut the call. Jasmine, darling, come to mommy. Why is my pretty princess crying? Mom, who are witches? Emerald asked, ignoring her mom's questions. Why do you want to know who witches are? She asked alarmed, wondering where they picked up the word from. Mom, who are witches? She asked again. Stop talking about witches, you these children. Talk about Jesus. We go to church. You all attend Sunday schools. That is what should concern you. We want you to tell us who witches are, Sapphire insisted. Will you shut up your mouth? You do not have any business with witches. Where on earth did you pick up that word from? No, you shut up, Mom, Emerald said, her eyes blazing like fire. I guess it is in your best interest for you to tell us who witches are. In a fraction of a second, something like a little spark moved out of Emerald's eyes and flew into Angela's ears. It seemed as if nothing happened, but it actually was real. She began to get scared. Witches are bad people, she said shakily. She was almost too weak to scold Emerald for her rudeness. They drink human blood and harm good people. They fly at night and they cause great havoc. Very good, dear Mom. We are so happy you know who witches are. And we are here to tell you that the 3 of us, we are witches. No, you are not, she said to them. Yes, we are. No, impossible, she repeated. Yes, we are, and we hold our meeting in this sitting room. In fact, there is human flesh in our fridge. If you look inside, you will see that the suya meat that you bought yesterday, we have changed it to human meat, Emerald said. Remember your bone shop which had just been demolished, and that leg that refused to heal? We are responsible for all the problems in this family, Sapphire said. Oh my God, Angela gasped. Even if she didn't want to believe them initially, now she did. Her girls have not been informed about the demolition of her shop. Neither have they been told about the inability of their father's leg to heal. How else could they know about them except they were the perpetrators? Oh my God, she whispered, staring at the three little girls in awe. Tell me, my daughters, how did you become witches? She asked them with a shaky voice. Marry! The three of them chorused. Marry? Yes, Mary. Mary was their 12-year-old cousin, just back from America. She was the only child of Angela's elder sister. Mary's American father died 1 year before, and she had begun to get out of hand and into serious vices, which prompted her mother to relocate to Nigeria so she could give her a good upbringing. The relocation was totally against Mary's wishes. Dear viewers, I'm going to take a pause at this very moment. I'll come back in few minutes time for the conclusion of the story. Thank you so much for being with me, and I hope to see you in few minutes time for the conclusion. Bye bye.